Guys, my name is Jeremy Vanderloop, founder and CEO of Crest Community. I'm here with my dear friend Blaine, who's a member here for Crest. He also is a software developer. That's the right way to call it, right? Architect developer?
Architect developer.
Yeah,
Depends on the day.
You were my guest on one of our last Crest chats. It was awesome. Really learned a lot from you about achieving dreams, setting goals, and habits. And again, if you're not familiar with Crest, go ahead and check us out online. We're a private community space just for entrepreneurs and leaders, really to experience what a professional community can do for you. Tune into these podcasts, come to our events, fly down to Tampa if you're in Tampa. Just come and hang out, get a coffee on us, and just enjoy just the serendipity and synergy that can occur by the diversity of the leaders and entrepreneurs that are here. And we're just going to jump right in. Blaine, what do you do?
Well, depends on what day it is. Some days I'm problem solving. Some days I'm designing things. My day-to-day job is architect / data scientist. Basically trying to deal with big data, learn things from that. Right now, most of my job is not as sexy as that sounds. It's basically just trying to get reports in for customers, which is, sounds very boring. But right now, that's where we're at with it. So,
what kind of data are you guys looking at? Is it just based on what the customer needs? Is it customer acquisitions? What it's selling to somebody? What is somebody's interest and needs?
It's basically numbers for our customers to figure out how they want to grow their business. So we look at so they can tabulate number of transactions, amounts, what products people are using, what products they are not using, how many active users they've got. A lot of it's the same kind of stuff that you would get from like if you're looking at your web usage, right? Mm-hmm. Just trying to see what
Google Analytics and stuff.
Yeah.
But is it geared more towards like POS systems, or because you work for NCR right now,
right?
And so is NCR still in processing? Like have they stayed pretty true to that National Cash Register?
There's actually two sides of the business for that.
Okay.
The side I'm on is on the online banking.
Okay.
So it's mainly like smaller banks and trying to get them to where they have the same kind of analytics as like the big banks, right? So they can, like more like your credit unions and things like that.
Yeah.
So and even with that, we have right now what we're trying to do is we have several products and we're trying to combine those into one. So it's not trying to do a bunch of different things at once because NCR has acquired companies and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's the typical trying to get everything to work and make your customers happy at the same time. And fix the ship that's at sea.
Yeah, because you're like middle management for NCR. Is that like the definition of where you're at? Like you're managing teams underneath you. You're responsible for productivity and delivering on deadlines and making sure everyone's kind of flowing. Is that the how old is NCR? I guess is the first question.
NCR is really old. It's over 100 years.
Mm-hmm. Over 150 probably, right?
Yeah.
So I guess kind of a preface for that question is what is it? So many of the interviews that I have on here, myself included, come from founders, entrepreneurs, people that are doing startups. You are fascinatingly awesome and unique because you have a very entrepreneurial heart and spirit and creative, and yet you are in this machine that has been around for 100 plus years, 150 years. Describe what is it like working, because it's a giant like warship versus a speedboat or a jet ski, right? What is it like working internally in a large company like that that's trying to adapt and change as more software and movements that are occurring entrepreneurially with startup world?
There's a lot more bureaucracy, and sometimes that's when you have an entrepreneurial spirit. Those are some of the kind of things that you have to kind of I won't say fight. I'll say challenges is a more of a way. Because a lot of times bureaucracy to me happens because somebody went their own way and it caused issues, and someone's like, okay, we need to safeguard against that. Right?
Systems and controls.
Right. And so over time, I think these build up. So for an organization as old as NCR, they just build up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes somebody to kind of come from the outside, which is my perspective.
Which takes innovators to come in.
To come in and kind of go, this piece doesn't make sense, or this is really painful. This is a really painful problem. It's hindering us having a faster turnaround time for our customers.
Mm-hmm.
This is impeding our progress, right? And also a lot of it's also, years and years of, development of different people coming in and out, right? Trying to deal with, huge systems. So, it's just a matter of dealing with something at scale, right?
Yeah.
There's such a scale to it. And
one of the hardest informations that I talk to as my friends are scaling or growing a large company. Like my friends have a company that has close, about 2,000 employees, 2,000 members, and team members, and just phenomenal revenues. And it's like it's taking so much energy, on like a fly on the wall being an analytic inside that executive office, right? Then I've had that privilege to sit, this company that is, will probably surpass $1 billion in revenue. It's not a small company to me, right? That's annual revenue. That's pretty good sized company, a couple thousand. It's not like NCR, because NCR's got how many employees does NCR have?
I lost count.
It's tons.
It's huge,
thousands.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. But when you start getting into the 1,000, 2,000 employees, 3,000 employees, 50,000 employees, talking even to one of our other members here, he went on the Crest chat with Corvelli, it was 91,000 employees that he has to be a part of an executive team as a chief administrative officer to probably process through HR and administration, and it's just one of those daunting tasks that, and he's actually a really good executive when it comes to that, because he's like trying to find market facing on the streets information. And as a leader, how important is that front row, market facing activity from the inside looking out? If the CEO knew what the consumer was doing on the street level, how would that impact like the decisions of the bureaucracy and all those things within the company?
Well, that's a tricky question, because again, there's a reason for that bureaucracy, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where the way I look at it is when something becomes an issue or impedes progress or prevents me from getting something done, right? Then at that time when it becomes a roadblock, then it's one of those you step back and go, okay, do we still need this? Because sometimes bureaucracy was needed at one time, and it's like tradition. People are like, well,
we've always had this.
We've always had this meeting.
But technology
we've always done things this way.
Yeah.
Why would we do this differently? And sometimes you just got to sit there and question it and go, okay, well, here's what we could do instead. One of my big things is always trying to automate things.
You took the word out. That's where I was going. Yeah.
Everyone on my team kind of rolls their eyes, because I'm always talking about engineering practices, automation, and quick feedback.
They need to make you like an executive in NCR. I'm telling you, man. Like that is executive material. That is ownership thinking, systematizing everything. I literally just left 4 hours of meetings of systemizing thought of if this, then this, if this, then this, our systems, and then the technology support our systems. That whole so I'm coming off of this right now. I'm like, oh man, yeah. This is like that's how founders think, man, and that's how these big companies need to keep thinking. Is like what you're talking about, just to encourage you with that.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way. I see myself more as a technologist, because I still like getting my hands dirty.
Of course.
And that's been the one thing about working up the management chain, so to speak. I've always kind of resisted it, going, no, I like keeping my hands dirty. My boss knows that now. But I'm always coming to him and going, hey, these are the things, and then I let him go and take the fight for me, and do some of these challenges, which he's really great at, which is why I'm working for him. But I mean, for a lot of that, it's just I'm trying just to get people to go, if you're doing something manual all the time, don't do that.
It's a waste of energy.
Yeah. Or if we have a meeting where it's pretty much everyone in a round robin fashion going, yes. It's like, okay, why do we all need to have a meeting where there's a committee that goes, yes or no. I mean, is there better ways of, getting those approvals? And like we had a process, is a huge meeting that we have to do before we do anything. And it was put in place basically to stop, someone trying to just throw something out and have it break everywhere, because if you break everywhere, that's customer facing. And the thing is we deal with numbers. And if you got wrong numbers,
numbers don't lie, man. They do not lie.
Well, that's how you lose customers, right?
Yeah.
So that's why this was in place. And so I thought about it, and I was like, well, really, if you automated the reports that they want, we could automate all these reports, email it out to everybody, and they can look at it before. And if they don't like what they see, why don't they send me a message back to say, hey, there's something, this doesn't look right, or what have you. But be able to say, we just generated this report that shows this is how we tested it. This is the test results. This is, to verify that everything still works like we had before. These are the things we fixed. And,
I'm telling you, if the CEO
et cetera,
and COO of NCR sat with you and just listened like what we're about to do for an hour, it would transform the organization, because you are, and your team, you guys are facing the markets.
Right.
And, right?
Well,
I mean, you're dealing with the issues, the daily issues.
Right. And NCR is like allowing us to have a good bit of autonomy on that.
Good.
For the fact of,
should have asked that if they were or not. I mean, is that culturally, are they trying to adapt into that?
They're trying to do that because they're trying to become a software as a service company. And I think that's, everyone still thinks of them as cash register company, but going forward, they want to be seen as a software as a service company, as like one of the big, Silicon Valley companies and things like that. But they're still seen. I mean, when you think of NCR, I'm sure a lot of people still think like IBM, like kind of together, because they're both very old companies.
I mean, think of it this way. So the thing that set them on the map out of Dayton, Ohio, right? If my history serves me correctly, that's where NCR was founded. It was Dayton, right? Have you ever been to Dayton?
No.
It's a cool town, actually. I used to drive through it touring and things like that. So, I mean, it's fascinating. It's bigger than you think. It doesn't get the recognition, but it's like the town of inventors and innovators, right? So a company this large, and it's just, for me as someone who tries to have a 200-year vision, right? Which is very rare, I see in nowadays. But it's like, you look at GE, Thomas Edison, right? Thomas Edison, one of the most innovative individuals in history, right? GE now, through the cycles, is struggling continually with innovation. And if you don't innovate, if you don't adapt, if you don't move, the same thing that's got them going is, if they stop doing it, it will actually create a death position in them. Like, whoever thought Sears was going to go out and be replaced? Taxi industries, Toys R Us, right? These giants, big Best Buy's competitor, Circuit City, right?
Well, a lot of the companies I've worked for in my career are all gone.
Think of that, right?
The first company I worked for was USF&G, which is one of the oldest insurance companies in the U.S.
Yeah.
Went out of business.
Yeah, so you have an interesting perspective from the inside out, because I know you. I know that you're innovative. I know that you're a thinker. I know that you're self-disciplined. I know you have everything of a great leader that's in you, and because you're a great leader, and just to even boost your confidence in that, like, it's like everything you're doing, leaders, they do the same stuff. It's just that you actually have a lot of great tools that you can bring to society and bring to this company if it was something that was in you. But I'm just thinking through, like, how fascinating is this company who has such a hurdle to jump over now, because they changed how business ran worldwide. They changed embezzlement. They changed everything. It's like, before that, before the cash register existed, like, dude, it was insane. It was just insanity. The stores couldn't turn a profit, nothing, and it changed the world, right? And so they were the innovator. They were the Google of the 1800s.
Well, yeah, they solved a huge problem, which was, handwritten receipts. It was easy to fudge.
Yeah.
Right? If you put the number in, it was harder to, once you had that accounting in there, you couldn't take $1 here or a penny there, right?
Yeah. Or 100. Yeah. As it added up, right? And it was a lot of money. And so, like, the whole point I'm making is, like, we need more innovators like you in large companies, it keeps going, or the companies won't exist, and there's going to be a major economic void potentially with people that aren't entrepreneurial. And so, and that's kind of the dance between like large companies and startups and these exits, these quick exits versus these longevity movements, which I think we're in a really hyper focus of like just these guys that just want really quick cash. You know, the exit culture. It's like, hey, I'm going to start this idea. 5 years later, I want to sell it for $1 billion. You just go, yeah, but where's the meat behind that? Where are the NCRs going to be 100 years from now? Who's going to be the NCRs 150 years from now?
That's a good question.
And who do you think?
I don't even want to, I have no idea because it's going to be someone that we don't expect.
You think so?
I started my career in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The internet at that point was only used by colleges. You didn't have the World Wide Web. You did. I take that back. But you didn't have images. It didn't have the polish it does now.
Mm-hmm.
The web browsers were very rudimentary. In fact, there used to be this one called Lynx that was text only.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't actually remember it, but I heard of it.
So we used to, in college, the way we got through the internet was email, FTP, and Gopher. And Gopher was this almost like this rudimentary kind of search thing. And you go find FTP sites, and then you would go get stuff. And then you had news groups as well. This thing called News, which no one ever uses now.
Mm-hmm.
And Google wasn't a name. In fact, the first search engine that I knew about to really help with the internet was Alta Vista.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know what that name is now?
No. I mean, you got a dominator like Google that just came in. It was like 92% of all searches or something like that goes through Google.
Yeah, Netscape. Everyone thought Netscape was going to be the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they now? I mean, Microsoft came in and swooped in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft used to be the bad boys, and but they're kind of considered like the IBM now, where IBM used to be, the big bad boy on the block, right? And now they're, now they're not. They don't, lift their weight. I mean, there's standards that IBM, enforce just because they're IBM. I mean, the ASCII, the way we do characters are used to until Unicode came. That was because of IBM said, nope, this is what we're going to do. But they don't have that kind of sway now, right? Mm-hmm. So to say, like, especially in technology,
yeah,
it's going to be someone small that we don't know about. It's probably going to be something, I think it's going to be around some of the AI stuff that you're seeing now.
Like the chat GPT, is that what it's called?
Yeah, chat GPT.
I tried that out this morning. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. It's
phenomenal.
I think my worry with the chat GPT stuff is, to me, it's just pulling, it's hive mind.
It's data, yeah.
Right? Yep. It's pulling data from the internet. It's getting, the averages, right, of things, right? So what it's putting out is just what's, on the internet, right? Mm-hmm. What other people have written, and it's kind of,
just reiterating
it down, right?
Yeah.
What I think is the thing I always worry about with things like that, with technology like that, is people saying, oh my God, this is so incredible. I can now get rid of my whole development staff because I can get this thing to write code. Right. Mm-hmm. But the issue is okay, we're always at some point, right now we still need humans because what ChatGPT is good at is generating stuff, but it's not very good at taking something existing and saying, oh, I have a change I need to make to this. Right. And that's where and designing things, right? You still need humans for that. But I'm not going to count out that eventually that's going to happen. I think what ChatGPT and all those will do is accelerate everything, right? Because the minute they can get outside of the hive mind,
I mean,
right?
Here's how a knuckle dragger like myself, used ChatGPT this morning. Okay, I need to create a new SOP for a sales flow. Hey, chat, how do I do this for XYZ? Flow. All right, how do I this? And it saved me 8 hours of reading and research and all this other stuff. And I think it's going to do what society's doing now, which I think we have a major problem, which I guess it's technically always been this way. I think we have one of the greatest crises, other than the population crisis, which I don't know if you've looked into that much, but one of the greatest crises that we have is the lack of critical thought in society. There's the ability to have a cohesive conversation of thought and challenging in a healthy way, it's just fascinating. Like it's where is innovation going to go on the mass populace? With as AI is coming on the scene, like me as an entrepreneur, I'm constantly in creative thought and critical thought. So I used it as a springboard that saved me probably a few $1,000s, if not more, of consulting with a human being.
And
you know what I mean? Like it's like, dude, you just like wrapped it up for me. That's awesome. Now I can go and work with it.
And that's always been the pluses and minuses with technology, right?
Yeah.
There's always the positive side. The positive with ChatGPT is, it can save you a ton of time and stuff. Or at least if you're just like starting out researching something, right? You could go ask it, right? And it can bring all that information together. The flip side of that coin is the people that use it for ill gain. The amount of false information that can be generated now.
Really? Talk about that.
You can get ChatGPT just to generate whatever you want to spew out, right? You can get it to write articles, and you can get it to generate that whatever, if you wanted to, like, whatever you wanted to put out there, right? Really, what you're doing, to me, false information is noise.
Absolutely.
So you can, and a lot of times people, you see it on Facebook. A lot of times people will put an article and it has the catchy, attention-grabbing headline. How many people really click down and read the article, right?
Very few.
So a lot of them are meant to kind of get you kind of like upset, right? Like some musician said this other musician was really bad, and you go, oh, how dare they? That musician is not good. Why is he, talking blah blah blah? But then you click in the article and you really find out that in the interview that's not what was said, right? And they just did something for a catchy headline, and they do it across politics too. You see it all the time.
All the time.
You see, well, this politician said this and blah blah, and it's really meant to be divisive, right?
Yeah.
I think those kinds of things.
What a perspective.
That's the bad. That's the flip side of the bad part. If you think about automation, I mean, automation has replaced jobs.
Yeah.
Gotten totally rid of jobs, and up to this point in our time, we've been able to what we've automated, we've created other jobs, right?
Yeah, and I mean, what I'm thinking, like, for example, like this building that we're in is, best way to describe it is a smart building. So it works literally. Like this morning, somebody came in, technically didn't even have to come in. Like somebody can automate it. As soon as it turns off the alarm, every light turns on, all the music turns on, ACs drop down. If something breaks in the AC, it can contact the AC contractor to come and change its filters. It's like you think of that and you go, that was like human capital right there that we just were like, this thing just opened itself up for a fairly inexpensive position, economically. And you go, that's amazing that us as just scrappy entrepreneurs, I was like, I really want that because I think that's the future of, in my heart, and maybe this is why I even started Crest, is I want to influence the leaders to think through the long play, right? I want to influence the entrepreneurs. Like leaders are moving governments, entrepreneurs are moving markets, creatives are moving culture, right? And so my whole heartbeat on this, not just talk about me, but it is the idea to be like, look, we have a responsibility as the select few, not the majority, but a minority of society that is going to get out and do things to lead people to not just be, it's that small percentage that makes big waves, right? Historically. And so if we can create a level of like fiduciary responsibility of like, you know what, I need to have a heavy integrity to think about the grandkids and the great grandkids, right? Of America and of the world, so that my decisions today can impact, in a healthy way, because they're going to impact regardless for people for the next 200 years, but they can impact in a healthy way rather than a non-healthy way. And so that's kind of like one of my own personal missions is that. And I want to use technology. There's no way I'm fighting it. I'm not going to fight AI. I'm not going to fight machine learning and automation. It's just not, it's moving so fast, I can't fight it, or I'm just, but what I would love to do is utilize it to empower the people that are coming alongside me and underneath me that I can lead and mentor, and then try to create literally 4 times the output with half the energy, so I can pay my staff 2 times the value of the market wage because of who they are and their commitment to me and my vision and company. And that's how I'm hoping we can, because that's honestly, it's going to come down to the heart of the leader. Are they going to be, not every, it's a good thing to replace employees. It really is, because then this is my perspective. It might be wrong. It might be really offensive to some people from different angles, but I would rather pick the people that have a servant heart and are just like all in and go above and beyond culturally that we've developed, and pay them 2 times their anyone else in the market for their position, because we use technology, and honor that. Be like, look, you gave me 4 times the output, half the cost. I'm going to give you the reward, man, for that. And that's what I think is going to, honestly, it's going to be more leaders hopefully thinking that way, and then kind of stepping up like hey, if you want this position, you're going to go earn it. You're going to actually be a team player. You're not going to be quiet quitting. You're going to be engaged in this way culturally. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, that's kind of like one of my high-level processes of machine learning and technology as an entrepreneur. Like, because cash flow is a real thing. It's hard. I'm trying to find ways constantly to not have to hire people. Legitimately, like it's like a real thing. You're like, all right, how do I replace this with a robot, right, so that I can invest this hard-earned cash and resources into people, and then grow them, get them up. Like the Ryans, how do I invest in Ryan more? Right? I don't need to have 4 or 5 people because we have technology. I can have a Ryan, and he does so much, or all my other guys. But what do you think? I'm rambling now. Yeah.
Well, I've always felt that if companies want people to be all in like that, you need to give them a stake in the company.
Okay.
When I worked at Salesforce, one of the first things that happened when I joined is they used to give you a bunch of stock options.
Wow.
And it was quite a bit.
You make them owners, basically. Equitable.
Yeah. And if the company did well, they gave you more stock options.
Yeah.
Right? Because it gave you, basically got you skin in the game. And I've always felt that if you put skin in the game, people will be more into what's going on. With what I do, it's one of those things where it's always been hard to show how much money do I make the company at my level, because a lot of stuff I do, it's hard to do metrics on a lot of it, right? In fact, it's very hard to do metrics in software when you start measuring productivity. The only measure that they've been able to really use is throughput. Like you can't use lines of code because, all those, most of the metrics.
Your busy work.
People will figure out how to fudge metrics. If you're measuring somebody on a metric, they'll figure out a way to game the system.
It's got to be a result.
Right.
Get us the result we want. Boom.
But the only one that's been proven is throughput. When a customer comes and requests something, how long does it take, to get through the system until it's, given to the customer, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, even with us, it's hard to find good people. And it's really hard when you have good people that go for reasons that you can't control.
Oh, it is. It's really hard.
So
nothing's more painful than losing somebody and be like, man, I'm going to miss that dude,
Yeah.
And being like, dang it. Well, I understand seasons, but that's the culture you want though. Not the bad blood. Like, man, I can't believe, I'm so glad that guy's gone.
Yeah. Well, you want people to you would like for people to boomerang, right?
Yeah.
To say, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. I go, okay, you can go do that. And, you can mourn the loss, but then they come back, and they go, hey.
What? Grass wasn't greener.
Yeah, exactly.
This place was actually really cool. Can you take me back? I'm really sorry. We filled your spot. And I'm just kidding. But
Salesforce, that happened a lot. A lot of people would leave to go to Twitter or Google or Facebook, and they would come back because the culture, I also believe that cultures in businesses come from the CEO.
Absolutely.
And filter down. And when I worked at Salesforce, the culture was everything was Ohana, and I was all in because I love that culture, and everyone was always out to help one another. It was almost like the team I was on. I always said that we were a gang. That's what we felt like. Don't mess with us. We're we'd stand up for
camaraderie.
each other. Yeah,
affirmation.
Yeah, we go to these team building events, and we were all like, oh yeah, we're gonna win this, whatever, and it was great, and we all got along, and it was like doing great work, and we knew what we were doing was affecting the bottom line and everything. It felt wonderful. But I think that kind of culture, has to come up, from the top.
Yeah.
And I think you can have it in big companies. I know a lot of times people talk about, like I just talked about bureaucracy and stuff, and that can kind of get you down. But, a lot of times, if your corporation doesn't, or big company doesn't have that kind of Ohana culture, you can make it on your own smaller team. When I worked at IBM, I worked in a very small team that really, for the first couple of years I worked there, we operated like a well-funded startup, and we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of stuff that we weren't supposed to do. Working for IBM, and I'm not saying we were doing anything illegal or any of that, but it was like stuff like,
when it goes out on the internet, it doesn't come back. So we can weigh our words.
No, I'm just kidding. Just saying, there were things that IBM probably would have gone, why didn't you use our framework? And it was like one of those things where, like, well, we wrote our own because it took us less time, and we could make our customers happier. And IBM was happy because, well, the people that were paying for our product loved it. Mm-hmm. It was things like that.
Well, I always, I've kind of started this funny thing. This month I won the most beautiful failure award personally. For sure. And it's so much of it is just like laughing at that and admitting, Ryan, you won it a couple times.
Uh-oh. Truth time.
No, the whole point, like, and I've talked about this, I think, in other episodes. So much of this stuff I could probably just reiterate every time, but I really hold to that like 80-20. And Ryan, how often have I gotten like really upset when you've made a mistake? None, right? I can't think of any time. And it's because you actually have like a follow through procedure, and you're very teachable. But it's like you could probably jump in on this even, because this is just like to what we're talking about, like the top down culture, that I'm constantly trying to learn. I'm actually going to interview him for a second, with you. No, you talk. We have 4 mics in here, but yeah, because like this is an interesting dynamic, because he's a young entrepreneur helping us out with all of our content. Everyone, this is Ryan. I don't know if you can see him or not.
I don't think
he's
so.
The man.
What's up?
And I'm hoping like this is just a good example. Like Blaine can walk with this, but it's like when you make a mistake working here and with us, what's your first thought?
Well, for me, it's just a lot of shame.
Okay.
It's like, oh crap, I disappointed everyone that I am working with, and I can't tell Jeremy just because of my own mistake, but that's just my own thought process. And when I come to you, it's always like, all right, how are we going to fix it?
Yeah. And
we go through together, or I try to come up with some solution beforehand, and a lot of times it's just a lot of grace that you give me. And
yeah.
Let's work through this.
But how does it make you feel, though? Like, what have you grown through that?
Yeah, for sure. I used to be super, super unable to deliver bad news or news that I've done poorly. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. But now I feel very comfortable sharing the failures that I've gone through.
Yeah. So that's like the 80-20 model. What I was talking about, right? That actually, I didn't know how he was going to respond to that. I was really, he's responding good. I'm going to give him $100 tomorrow. No, but the whole, not really. No, don't get excited about it.
All right.
I'm broke. But the whole idea behind that is like what you're talking about. Like, I believe that is the heartbeat of innovation. Like, 80% be successful, please. 20% just fail, fail forward, fail big. Let's own it. Let's process it.
Or just don't feel bad about.
Yeah, don't feel shame.
Don't feel bad about that. I've had to do the same thing, and now I've gotten to where I'm pretty open when I fail. I'll even tell our junior developers on my team, like, hey, I went with the best information that I had, and you know what? I look back on this, and this wasn't a good idea, and this is why. And I always tell
solutions.
I always tell people. I just had a conversation earlier today, and someone came to me and was like, well, I hated coming to you with this problem because I know you're dealing with a lot of problems. And I looked at it. I always say I have colorful language when I see problems. It's almost like I have Tourette's syndrome. But
that's funny.
Because I'm looking at it and I'm like going, oh, not another. Oh, my goodness. Oh, why? And I always have to tell people when I'm talking to them, going, okay, I'm not getting mad at you, or even if you're responsible for what I'm looking at, and I'm like going, oh my, how could this be, right?
Yeah.
No, this is our current situation. Yep, it's another problem. So what? I would rather know about it,
Yeah.
so we can address it and we can move forward. Because if I know about it, then we can start thinking about how to solve it. Because any problem is basically, the way I kind of look at it is, everyone was using the best information that they had at the time. And maybe under certain circumstances, the reason why things are the way they are is because, they had to, maybe it was 3 o'clock in the morning and there's a customer going, oh my God, my numbers are wrong. And they were like, oh, I can make this quick fix, right? And then things like that get forgotten, right? But then you look about it a year later and people have built on top of that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is spaghetti now. This is awful, right? It's like that scene in the Monty Python movie where, the guy eats one more cracker and explodes, right? It's kind of like that. You get to that point where, I'm the person where, where people go, oh, Blaine, guess what?
All this work we did for the last 10 months.
Everything just exploded.
Yeah, we have to redo it. It was wrong. Foundation was off.
But that's the nature of software. Software is always constantly changing, and you got to look at it and go, at some point you got to be fearless with it and just go. I always go, let's just solve it, and we'll move forward from there. And yep,
Blaine, that is the nature.
Prioritize.
That is the nature of life.
Pretty much.
It is. I mean, it's so complex.
Well, that's what a lot of people don't realize. You're never going to have perfect information.
Never. You just make the best you can with the information you got.
Yep, and know that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to trip up, and I think the most important thing is not to make the same mistake twice.
That's actually in our core values.
I always tell my daughter, I don't care that you made a mistake as long as you learn from it.
Yeah, that's it. And that's it's literally like we have, our core values are PRESH, which we're people first. It's reflective growth, and that what's defining that is reflective growth. We celebrate progress over perfection, but we try not to make the same mistake twice, because then that's negligence. Because then that's exposing a lack of discipline, lack of learning, lack of reflective growth. So it's the opposite of the core value. And then we have, efficiently unified, social capital being the greatest resource or the greatest currency of people. It's our currency, serving people. And then humbly leverage, just making sure that you're asking for help. You're never trying to power through. You just need, because life is, and I'm constantly talking to my guys about that, what we're talking about. We're like, look, man, give me the brutal facts as fast as possible, and let me just don't sugarcoat this stuff, because the cheapest time that conflict is the moment you can get it to me. Yeah. Then I can start processing through it. You try to hide that sucker for a week or 2 weeks, that's what's going to make me upset. Right. Not the mistake, not the failure. All right, let's pivot through this, man. Oh man, we totally forgot to film. It's happened a couple of times. We forgot to film this podcast. Well, it's a podcast. Just put a picture up, create a little extra work, and there it is. That was the, not to throw Ryan underneath, but when we were first starting this thing, he was like, so the camera started, and then it didn't. So the last, we've got 3 podcasts released so far? 2? No, we have 3. Yeah, all of them don't have video though, right? None of them do? The third one does. So it's mistake. That's actually textbook. What the moment we discovered it was after the second episode, and then you go, okay, let's not do that again, and then you just kind of process through it. And I'm very proud of. I throw them all sorts of random crazy stuff. They go, yeah, I think we can do that, and just so much like software guys, yeah, we're solution people. We're gonna create solutions, but that's a ramble. Man, so we've been going for 39 minutes. It just runs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But
get me to shoot my mouth, I can go on all the time.
But man, just I'm really, really intrigued by just your life and who you are, some of your dreams and aspirations, and what you've accomplished in software and working for a large company. I'm constantly learning from that. But let's so you're part of Cress. You're a member here. How and why did you join Cress?
I was driving around and saw the banner.
Yeah.
I had been at another co-working place that was just actually right up the street, and it was just getting to be too loud. Mm-hmm. And I like to have concentration time, and I needed something that was close to where my daughter goes to school.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to the Tampa Catholic School that's just almost right across the street.
Literally across the street, yeah.
And I was frustrated with the other co-working place, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start doing this back and forth, which, one trip one way is an hour. So I'm looking at like 2 hours taken out of my day.
Mm-hmm.
If I do it twice, then it's 4 hours. So I'm like, that's time sitting in traffic. That's time you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I was driving. I was frustrated. I didn't know what to do, because I knew I couldn't work at a noisy place because they were getting sales guys doing like chants and doing these stomping things.
Yeah,
and I was like, whoa, guys, come on now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't think. And, and even when you're trying to sit on calls, that's like, hold on, guys, let me put you on mute real quick. They're doing another chant. Okay. Okay. They're done now. Oh, wait a minute. They got another one going. Hold on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was driving, taking my daughter to school, and I just looked over and you had the advertisement and it said co-working. And I was like, all right, I got to check this out. And the very next day I walked in, and I think it was Travis.
I think it was me.
That walked me around.
Wasn't it? Was it Travis or me?
I think both of you were
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
And then showed me around. And I was like, yeah, it was you.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to Trav when I first walked in. I was talking. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, let me get Jeremy for you. And then you showed me the tour. And I remember thinking, this is so much nicer than the other co-working place. And
wow.
I like the fact that, everyone so far here has been really super friendly.
Mm-hmm.
At the other one, it was a lot more hands-off. I really didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
There's a lady that came in and that made the coffee, and I would talk to her. But I liked going to a co-working place, versus being at home. Just have random conversations. So now I talk to, Ryan and Travis in the morning. I probably bore them to tears. Every once in a while. I try not to, but,
Very doubtful. Very doubtful.
You talk philosophy, whatever.
Yeah.
Just, just something different. But yeah, and then, I usually hang out in the downstairs part just because, I don't know,
You have a creature habit. You're like, this is my space right here.
Actually, one day there was someone that was in the table that I use.
Yeah, you need me to move?
And they were like, do you want me to move? I'm like, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. It's not, but yeah, I tend to grab, if you see I park in the same spot.
Yeah.
A lot of that's because if I get going, I'll forget things. So if I always park in the same place, I don't lose my car.
It's human nature, man. I got you. I'm right there with you. But, all right, how do I not lose things? I use tiles now on my phone and everything because I don't know what. Oh no, it's AirTags now. I used to use tile. Now I use AirTag because it's more convenient for my phone. Because I do lose everything all the time. It's that creative brain. I think that kind of So this is really for me that's really awesome. So you literally were just like a walk-in. You drove by, and then you joined from a time position and just really needing it. My second question I always ask is, what have you gotten out of being a part of this community that you weren't actually expecting? Because you came for really what we call the free stuff. You came for the facilities. But what have you gotten out of this community that you weren't actually anticipating to get out of it?
I won't say that I didn't anticipate, but at the other co-working place, I was kind of expecting more of to kind of rub elbows with entrepreneurs and leaders and stuff like that. One, to get ideas, right? Because eventually I've done several startups in the past, but they've all been failures.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's the way you learn what not to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know eventually I'm going to get that itch again. And I'm going to want to do it. And so it's kind of nice to be able to talk to people that are going through it. And so when I do get ready to do that jump again, to have that camaraderie, and things like that. And
so you were expecting to get that from here?
Was not, well, I was expecting it from a co-working place. I expected it at the other one, but I didn't get it.
So it's like, this is what I'm thinking it is. It is not this, but then you found that here.
Yeah.
But so were you expecting to get that here, or were you just like, you know what, all these places are the same. I'm just going to come and get my work done?
Yeah.
That's what you were thinking?
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I just need a quiet place.
Yeah.
Sit around, think, have meetings, and then, wait for my daughter to get done with school and pick her up and then continue on, right?
So then we actually filled your expectations. Though you're like, oh, this would be a awesome thing to have this, and that's what happened here.
Yeah, but then there's been like weird. I won't call it weird, but one of the other coworkers, we would talk, past each other and say, "Hey, man, what's going on?" We found out we were both, technology people.
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
that's cool. And then we keep talking. Then one day, he overheard me talking on one of my meetings, and he goes, "You talk like a small talker." And the small talk is an old language. It's one of the things I started out in.
Mhm.
It's and I still have a love affair with it, but nobody uses it anymore. It's esoteric.
Mm-hmm.
But the ideas in it, there's things that are still not in there. And I was like, and my ears perked up, and I was like, wait a minute, what did you just say?
Is this Krishna? Are we talking about Krishna?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's awesome.
He's like, and I was like, how'd you know I did small talk? And he goes, it's in your language. And he goes, no one else talks like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, so then we got to talking, found out that we both worked at USF&G at one point.
Mm.
I think we were there at the same time.
Yeah.
We wound up having the same manager at different points.
Wow.
Right. So yeah, it was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exactly what's supposed to happen here.
And small talk is such a rare language for anyone to know or have had any experience in it. To find someone just...
That's awesome. So it's just serendipity.
Yeah.
Just literally sitting there over a handful of months and being like, wow, we have this common bond here. And you didn't even know it.
Yeah, it was just one of those things like, oh.
So you were super shocked to have that experience here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I thought that was really cool. But that's the kind of experiences I kind of wanted in a co-working place. I wanted to go to a place where, you mingle with people and you find those, because you never know what backgrounds people have or what you can learn from people. Even the developers that I'm mentoring at NCR, I always tell them, if you have an idea, say it. I am not all knowing.
Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of times they'll come up with an idea and I go, that is nuts. But wait a minute. That's actually, let's try it out.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then a lot of times it has worked out. And it's like, oh,
man,
stuff I would have never thought of. And to me, it's just like, you can always learn from everyone. My big thing is no matter where you are in life, when you come at the same place at the same time, it doesn't matter what your background is.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. You're there now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it doesn't matter how you got there. You're there now. And then what matters is going forward.
Just the journey. Yeah, processing.
And then learn from their different journeys, right?
Mm-hmm. Learn from the past, look to the future, live in the present. Yeah. Right? Don't live in the gap. Be content and just be like, that's awesome, man. So that makes me feel good, because that is literally, some people get shocked by this. I think I've said this a couple times on different episodes. I don't think I've still ever been in a co-working space. Ever. Because that's how people have actually defined this. That's not how I ever defined it. I thought I need a space that's just, and we're getting so much tighter with our messaging. We're even trying, because we have to play in the market that we're in, but maybe that's the unique factors, because I set out as an entrepreneur to create a solution for my own need. Right, realizing, man, I need to be around other people to sharpen me, to challenge me, to think me, to grow me. And I thought, I could have this space that does all this. And I just started putting everything together that I experienced touring, from hotel lobbies to coffee shops to everything. And now people have started calling it this thing. And so I've been obviously researching co-working and realizing it's a giant industry. But so that just makes me, it's an encouragement to me that you're like, this is a lost cause. I don't think this really exists. I'm just going to go and put my head down. And that we organically have actually created that by creating solution, and so we've literally stopped, like we say the facilities are ancillary. Like, you're investing in yourself here. The benefits here is the social capital. It is the serendipity. It is the synergized growth. It is building a trusted accountability network of people to just challenge you, to grow you, to man, I'm going through this thing. Who's here that I can just go, okay, thanks for that, man. I needed that. I was about to go react and rip into somebody, or like whatever that is. Or I mean, I'm struggling with this. Has anybody ever done that? And so we're constantly, but it's like, I think we're just saying it's like, this is a co-working and event hall reimagined experience, a professional community for you. Thrive, Connect, and Dream. That's like what we're narrowing down in of what we do. And just like, so this interview has been like really encouraging for me that we're actually doing something of validity and, in people's lives. And cause it gets stressful. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this works.
None of us do.
And, but so that just encourages me because that is the purpose I set out for, exactly what you talked about. And I didn't even know that story about you and Krishna. And so that's just, thank you for that. Thanks for being such a valuable member.
Yeah, we just figured that out last week.
Wow. Well, I know.
And it took him to go, hey, you small, because when he first said it, I was like,
yeah.
Did you just say that? What'd you say?
That's awesome. Well, so the third question is the doozy. I actually have a fourth question as well. But the third question, so you're going to be the only one that gets the fourth so far. I just thought of it. The third question, it is a doozy, actually. It's something, so this is for me to learn, constantly grow and lead better. How am I just brutally failing at this that I could do better at?
Co-working space?
Yeah, top down, man. Like, what are we failing at? And it comes from me. Like, what are we doing that we could do better? What are we not doing? What would you rather see more intentionally done here? Just that we're, again, I celebrate failures, so like brutal facts. What do just I think that's the question. Yeah,
I'm thinking. I think what you're doing a lot of things right. Everyone being positive here, I kind of like that culture.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I meet here is super positive. I really haven't met anyone where I'd go, I'd rather avoid them in the future. There's been none of that. Everyone's been super positive. Everyone's had an amazing story.
Mm.
It's one of those where like, I want to learn more.
About
everyone.
Like we screen, right? Like we actually have when we do the tours, that's actually an interview. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an interview on our end. Of course we let you in. We love you. I think no, it's screening for people that have that mindset. It's the mindset of growth, the growth mindset. That's the whole heart of this.
Yeah.
Like you're welcome. Everyone's welcome. But it's like the culture, it's presented in a way that only people with growth mindsets get it. Yeah. Which is really cool. And it's hard though, because you're like, okay.
Yeah. See, I see like a place like this could eventually, I won't talk about failure, but I could kind of see where this could be like an incubator.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could have this where, an incubator for like technology companies, a place for user groups to meet.
Mm-hmm.
I used to live in Omaha a long time ago, and I rubbed elbows with all the entrepreneurs and startup people there, and I actually ran a user group there. I ran several because I wasn't having success. At first I started, don't laugh, I started out with a small talk user group. And then
I laughed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But, it's one of those things like 2 people showed up and I was like, well, we could just go get coffee. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll do one of these. At the time, Ruby was big. We're like, okay, we'll move it to Ruby. And then, 5 people showed up. And then I finally I went out to a conference in Boston, and it was called the Dynamic Language.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, conference, and everyone, they talked about all these different languages and all this different stuff. And I thought, wait a minute, if I broaden what my user group talks about,
mm-hmm.
we can get all the people that are passionate about, at the time, these newer technologies. And so that's what I did. I rebranded, and then at that point, we were getting 20 to 30 people. I also started, had the bright idea of serving pizza.
Yeah. Young developers, software developers, free pizza goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, though.
Yeah.
Then people started showing up, and then people started complaining, like, well, you always get, like, the cheap pizza, And I was like, well, if you wanted to sponsor me and pay for it, I'll get the more expensive stuff.
Yeah.
And the funny thing happened then we started getting sponsored by some of the consulting firms because they realized the people that came to our group were the more passionate people. And when they placed them, the employers were like, oh my God, we need more of of these folks. And so it was kind of growing some of that, but getting
how do we engage that? Yeah.
I've been thinking about how could you put that here? I mean, it could be as simple as having a space for user groups. Because right now, a lot of places, they charge.
What does it look like? Like, what is a user group? I mean, I'm not a technology guy, but I absolutely would love to serve that space. What do they need?
Once a stage, something to show audio visuals on, because you're normally showing code and so on.
Two of that.
On this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Show that, and then be able to have food, and
Would you want to streamline that? Do you have the bandwidth? I don't speak that language, but I can for sure come alongside and support that passion.
I think if you could support the one problem with technology is having a broad enough discussion to where you have enough topics. Like, you can't say, Python's a pretty specific programming language. If you go, well, we're just going to talk about Python. We do. Tampa used to have a Python users group.
Mm-hmm.
I think we still do. But it's hard because the topics are so far ranging now. It goes from data science to this and that, but it's all centered around Python. Well, a lot of the technology is growing beyond that.
Yeah.
But if you make it too broad, then no one shows up because they're like, well, it's too broad.
Yeah.
Right?
My whole thing.
It's one of those things, if you can strike that balance, and get people to start coming in. When I was in Omaha, that was what was awesome, because I was pulling in like entrepreneurs and I was pulling in startup guys, but I was also picking up the guys that were working a day-to-day job in a corporation, going, oh, I want to use this stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is really cool. How do I get this started? And we had a pretty good mix. But it took me years to get that done. But it's one of those things where if you could have a free space to start out with, because user groups, the guys that head up the user groups, they're not making any money. They're doing it out of their heart, right?
Well, for us, here's what I'm hearing: we're failing at being more intentional of reaching out and creating a give first to the tech industry here in Tampa. Like, we have not done a good job of intentionality of reaching into that direct niche demographic where there's a need there. And that's awesome. That's what I learned for.
And that's always a hard one to get. It's like, there's the Tampa bar camp.
I don't know anything about the tech space.
Yeah. The bar camp used to be what's called an unconference. So you show up and you say, I'm going to talk about X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And you put up a time, and then people vote on what they want to go listen to, right? So really, you don't know if you're going to talk the day of or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hosting like something like that here would be incredible.
We do a hosted by, presented by series all the time, that we basically, members come to us like this. They have an idea of a specific niche industry or passion or just a network. Like, we did one last night. It was a hosted by, presented by business networking event that you could have come to, anybody could come to, that Stacy, who's one of our members, puts on with her coaching company. And it's always great. And then I did one we did that CBN Cambridge Christian Business Network, because Cambridge Christian is a member here, the private school around the corner. And so we did a hosted by, presented by event for them, and so I love that idea. Because what I have is the ability to come alongside and serve with a space. I do have that. And that's like for something like that, I mean, it's equivalent to giving like a $2,000 value away, just to be like, coming alongside this vision. And so I do know how much that costs. And so I would absolutely be willing to do that, to donate that. Excuse me. But let's brainstorm on that, man, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know the first thing about reaching that demographic, but I sure can be a cheerleader, man, and support you. I know we have 3 or 4 software developers that would be great to get you all in the same room to discuss this. Yeah. Because I think it would grow.
Yeah. When I was in Omaha, we did it organically. Once you get kind of roped into
I got 2 more actually so this is just something that we can like offline discuss. I've got a guy named Kyle and another guy, like these guys that are actually, they have PE groups that specifically invest in startups, tech startups. And so we technically have a lot of the resources to actually do what you're talking about with relationships and capital. And I'd never thought of it, to be honest with you.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And any way to serve like our members that are tech guys, that have great ideas. And that's the whole heartbeat of this. So let's circle up after this and maybe we can just do like a brainstorm session. I just do a group text or something between everybody, or we can. Yeah. How's that sound?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody will rise up who says, "I'll own." We just have to create like an ownership. Somebody say, "Yeah, this will be mine. I'll present this. You host it. You open the doors. I'll present it and organize it." And that's kind of what we're looking at. So, what do you think of that?
Yeah, Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Do you want to do that or no? I'm not going to put you on the spot. You don't have to say yes. It was a good idea, but we just had to find a couple guys to have passions for that.
Yeah, in a couple of months I'll have time.
Perfect. Let's dialogue with that. And then the last question, I've never asked this for anyone because I do know that there is a I don't know if I should ask this, but I am going to. What would we have to do that brings so much value to you that would say, you know what, I joined because my daughter went to school across the street, but I don't want to let this go. I'm willing to put it in my schedule to drive now to be here more intentionally when I don't have to be here.
Man, that's a hard one because I hate driving.
I know you do. I know. That's why I was like, I got to ask this.
That's why I'm going to be sad when my daughter's no longer going to school because it's like, I could see me wanting to come in like every once in a while.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that drive is...
What would you need?
Nicer people on the road?
Dang it. Okay. I have no control over that. None.
I would probably change my schedule.
Okay.
And probably just come in not as often, maybe like once a week or something.
Yeah. Like one of our C-level guys. Like our C-level guys come in once every quarter. Like they literally have like these dope offices and they come here for planning once a quarter just to be around the environment.
Yeah, but like the user group stuff would be, I think something that would, it's something I've been having the itch on because like, I talked at the Python user group a few times, and my thing is my time has been so sporadic with what I can do in my spare time. It wasn't like when I lived in Omaha. In Omaha, I was, still,
You're about to be an empty nester too pretty soon, man. That little girl is going to college.
Yeah. That blows my mind. Yeah, it's funny when they're like little and, being funny and, and then they grow up and like, to know that she's now a grown woman is, I'm having a hard time with it.
Oh man, we'll have to talk about that. My little one's 9, my little girl. And I'm like, we've already talked about this a couple times, but we're kind of going to wrap up on the podcast, so we can always talk forever. We'll talk about fountain pens. We'll talk about which. I'm so sorry, I've been slammed. I know.
No, I got it. I got it inked up and ready, man.
I know. I want to try it. So he's really into fountain pens, guys, and I'm a collector. I collect all sorts of stuff, and my wife is probably going to write you a nastygram if I get into fountain pens. Because I know how extreme I get with collections. It'll be like, oh, this pen is cool. It's got this. Why did you spend X dollars on that? Because it's this.
And then you get the fountain pen, and then you'll want the inks.
Oh, man. Yeah, you're going to get me. Because I already told you I'm into watches and knives. And I've always, progressively said, honey, you're going to have to, really watch me. If I, hit it big time, I'm probably going to get into cars. That's probably what I'm going to do and have to have a warehouse just for cars. She goes, that's just, they call that the collector of things. Like there's collectors and I've always been that way since I was a kid. So you're getting me into fountain pens pretty soon. Anything that'll slow me down though. Well, I'll ramble. My ADD just kicked in. We're going to do a whole nother podcast for an hour. But Blaine, man, it's always a pleasure to hang with you. I learned so much from you and I love just your aura, your energy, your personality. It's a lot of fun. And I'm going to work my tail off to make this thing so valuable that you're like, you know what? My daughter's no longer in school, but I can't leave this community. They have done so much for me.
I will miss this.
And you don't have to. You can still come by.
I will still come by.
You can keep that membership, man. No, I'm actually excited to help you navigate because I'm going to be very straight with you. I think that you have everything, and we can cut this. We're going to leave this. This is who we are culturally as a community. I can see so much validity and strength in you through everything you've done. I don't know how or why. I have a sneaky suspicion, but of why those startups failed per se, and that's a quotation, failed. I doubt they really failed. I don't think you had crests in your life when you were doing those.
Oh, no.
I know you didn't because they wouldn't have failed because every attribute in you, your self-discipline, your self-motivation, your self-thought, your critical thought to problem solve, how you build culture within your team, everything in you is the makings of an unbelievable founder and CEO. I just don't think you had the connections in the community to encourage you and drive you forward because the business side of the doings versus the strategy of the executions and the timelines, that's what I have. and continually building. And that's what so many other entrepreneurs have. When you're ready to do that startup, I think we do a roundtable where I get some of the best entrepreneurial minds, like just business guys, and we hear your pitch and then help just build that business plan and structure, because you'll kill it, dude. You have everything to kill it, and you'll be one of the next greats, in my opinion. Yeah, for real. And you're very humble, and you don't like people praising you like that, but that's what I see in you, man. And
I know why things have failed in the past. You know, one is I focus too much on the technology with the belief that if you make it, they will come, and that's just not true.
Mm-mm.
You really, like you said, you got to get out and advertise. Like you're thinking of different ways of pushing the co-working space, which I think it's a hard space to be in, because you got to reach out to the right people. It's a lot of smaller people. It's not like you get one big company and I'm in the money.
We're working towards that.
You got to get a lot of.
By the way, how many NCR employees are in Tampa?
I think I'm the one.
Oh, dang it! Never mind. That B2B plan really works. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. You were on a real flow, but
that's what I'm just. I know where the startups have failed in the past, and it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, when I get ready to do this again, I know, you need to not only have the good technology and have things can be nimble, but you need to focus on the sales and other things in the connection.
You didn't even have to tell me that. I knew that because I know you are the implementer all day. You just heads down implementing thought, idea.
If my hands are not in it, I don't feel comfortable.
I mean, you're just going. And and here's what I love about you, and I'm gonna ramble. This is a little longer podcast, but what I love about you is that you are a natural implementer, and this is just my gut, that learned to innovate. Because what I think there's two different types of people creatively, like natural bends. You're either naturally innovative, you're just everywhere. Your mind is just like in the clouds, and you have to learn to implement, or you won't be successful. And then you have the other ones who are very solid implementers and great leaders, and they just go A to B, bring it out of the clouds, but then they also have to learn how to innovate and not get so stuck on the paralysis, their analysis, or just focusing on this thing. And you need actually you need a yin and a yang to that. You need the one part who is just like, and it could be a hire or a partner that just goes, I am going to do this. And they are just out there, visionaries, big, they're marketers, they're sellers, they're dynamic. But man, they could get nothing done without you. Right? And it's that same thing. And that's honestly that's why I have like Brian, the dude's just like, we're polar opposites, but we've been best friends since we were 14. And even today I was like, he's moving to California. And I was like, yo, and I was just like super blunt. I was like, hey, when you move to California, you still don't work for me? And he looks back like with fear almost, if you'll have me. Okay, good. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I wasn't going to experience anything that I wasn't expecting. If you're still in, I'm still in. I'll figure out how to make a cross country thing work. And that's that whole heartbeat. Like, dude, I trust you. You are an implementer, and we're going to just figure this out. And that's what I've learned. It makes me successful is not being able to be the best you. It's just fun. And so to encourage you with that, that's what I'm talking about. Let's pair you with the guys, the right who's in the room that know how to sell, that know how to raise, that know how to get the word out. Because then, anything you create is just going to blow up, dude. Yeah. So, and that's what I want to do, man. I want to hear more about these ideas and pitches that you have, because I think you got it in you, man. So, does that encourage you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's just the outside looking in, just an outside read. How accurate was it?
I'd say pretty accurate.
All right, cool. Guys.
Don't know about all the great part, but
no, dude, I knew it.
My problem is I'm like the shiny babble, oh, look, that's pretty. And then I'll go play with that, and oh, that's really pretty. And I'll go,
well, it's the shining syndrome. We all deal with that.
All I need to do is focus and take it to the
Steady Eddie with the systems. Systematic process is what makes things work or doesn't work. You know that as a web developer.
Oh, yeah.
All that is the same thing in business. What are my systems, my linear approach to solving and hosting this complex issue of infinite unknowns. That's it. It's a linear, if this, then this, if this, then this, if this, then this. And it's like, it's awesome, but it's very, very time consuming and draining. But it's fun. All right. So we're going to wrap. What is that? It's like an hour, a little over an hour, 70 minutes. That's not bad. 65 minutes. So, Blaine, did you have fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you are just awesome. So
I'll do this anytime.
Anytime. Next week. Maybe. You're always here. I'd be like, hey, we had someone cancel. It doesn't work for you. Like, no, I'm regimented. I'm very rigorous in my routine, calendaring. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If you're watching, we appreciate that. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Follow us anywhere that we have socials and join our mailing list. Come in and get a coffee. Come and hang out if you're in Tampa. If you're watching this and now we have multiple locations, come into any of our locations. See ya. Thanks. That was awesome. It was a great episode. Great episode.